Hello, lovely, and welcome to Yoga with Carolynne. Today's gentle yoga practice is to help you welcome in the energy of the new moon. So put on your comfy clothes, roll out your yoga mat, grab your props, and let's get started. Welcome to Yoga with Carolynne, teaching empaths and sensitive souls just like you how to create a collaborative relationship with your body through cozy, accessible yoga and self-care practices in order to live a life filled with less doing and more being. Happy new moon, lovely. So when it comes to practicing new moon yoga, there's no actual specific mandatory sequence that you should follow, not even for the full moon or anything for that rather. There's no specific poses and there's no specific style that you should be practicing around this time of the moon cycle. So this practice is most definitely just kind of my interpretation of what energies might be supportive when it comes to just giving you a space to celebrate and recognize this new moon time. So when it comes to new moon energy, I am in no way an expert, but when it comes to my own self-care practices and navigating this celebration of different phases of the moon, this time is associated with a little bit lower energy, right? So if you think about it, you can't actually see the moon at this time, right? So the sky is dark. So when you think about darkness, you might think about kind of lower energy, slower pace, taking pause, introspective. And it's also said to be a beautiful time to set and create intentions. So really tuning into what it is that you are looking to explore during the next cycle of the moon. But if all of that sounds like, I don't really know, and you don't really know what intentions you might have for the next moon cycle, it doesn't matter. This practice is most definitely just put together in a way where you can just connect in with yourself, maybe begin to listen to the whispers of the heart when it comes to those intentions, maybe not. We're going to be focusing on some hip openers and staying really low to the ground. And it doesn't even matter if you're practicing this around the time of the new moon. Maybe today's practice simply acts as a beautiful reminder that it's okay to take things slow and it's okay to reconnect with yourself. So we're going to start today's practice in Supta Baddha Konasana pose, Sanskrit for on your back, diamond shape with the legs. So in terms of props that'll probably be helpful for today's practice and for this pose is you might want to have a couple of yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, a few cushions or rolled up blankets or some heavy books that you might have. A bolster might be helpful. We might use it, we might not. And the blanket is always a nice added bonus. So making your way onto your back, grabbing hold of those blocks if you have them. Placing the soles of the feet together, open the knees wide, and those blocks settle underneath of your knees. And then you bring yourself down onto the ground. So once you bring yourself down onto the ground, maybe it'll help to just take an exhale, allowing your low back and your shoulders to connect into the floor. And in order to really, right off the bat, invite in that energy of connecting in with yourself, connecting in with your intuition, with your heart. Place the hands connected to the body somewhere. So maybe it'll be more accessible or just kind of cozier for you to have the hands palm face down on your belly or even on your inner thighs. Or maybe one hand on heart, one hand on belly. If it feels safe and comfortable for you, you'll bring the eyes to a close and let yourself arrive. So notice how you settle onto your mat. Physically, how your body is feeling. But also noticing how your mind and how your heart are doing. Knowing that there's no bad answer to the question of, how are you? How are you really? And there's no wrong answer to what do you need? What would feel good? So you don't need to kind of get caught up in answering those questions right away. But today's practice is absolutely a space where you can simply ask those questions and watch as the answers may or may not bubble up as the practice goes on. How are you? How are you really? And what do you need? What would feel good? Notice your breath. Notice as the hands might rise and fall as you breathe in, as you breathe out. And if it would feel supportive for your practice today, you can deepen or lengthen or expand that breath in a way that feels like really honoring how you're feeling. What would breathing in a way that feels good feel and look like for you? You'll slide the hands down towards the outer thighs. Then bring the knees in towards each other. The soles of the feet connect down towards the floor. Then from here, bringing the knees in towards the chest, either wrapping the arms around the thighs or the shins rather, or placing one hand on each shin or on the back of each of your thighs. Take a moment here just to breathe in stillness. And then finding some movement as you rock from side to side, massaging into the low back. And coming back into center, back into stillness, and then you'll create some circles with your knees. So keeping the toes kind of towards each other, doesn't matter if they touch, and you'll open the knees out towards the side and then circle the knees back into center. So just a few more times like that. The eyes can stay closed as you notice the slight rocking movement in your pelvis. There's no rush here, take your time. And bringing the knees back in towards each other, hug those knees in. And then you'll roll onto the right or the left side of the body, it doesn't matter. And then you'll press yourself up to bring yourself into a tabletop position, coming onto your hands and your knees. So with a blanket folded up underneath of your knees will be a helpful prop, then placing that underneath of your body. And then once you make your way into your tabletop position, you'll slide the blocks, if you have them, towards the front end of your space on either side of your yoga mat, just so that they're ready once we make our way there eventually. In your tabletop position, let's take a few rounds of cat and cow pose. On the inhale, drop the belly down, the heart shines forward, gaze looks forward or up. And then on your exhale, start at the base of your tailbone. You tip the tailbone, then ripple up the spine, spread the shoulder blades wide, tuck the chin in towards the chest. A few more times like that. The inhale, you find your cow pose. And the exhale, you find your cat pose. Then you'll bring yourself back into center. Then walk the hands forward, spread the fingers nice and wide. Coming into a downward facing dog. So if you know for you it might feel a bit more accessible, a bit more comfortable to place blocks underneath of your hands, then you can do that. When you're ready, curling those toes under and sending the hips up towards the sky. We're not doing too many of these downward facing dogs today. Because again, we're moving slow, we're keeping things pretty gentle. So let this be like a lazier downward dog than you might typically find. Staying soft in the face. Keep the head heavy as you walk the feet towards the front end of your space. Take as many steps as you need to get there. Coming into your standing forward fold. You can let the arms just be long. You can grab hold of the elbows, or your blocks might be really helpful supports to raise the floor up. The head is still heavy here. Take a few deep breaths in this stretch. You're welcome to just enjoy stillness, or you're also welcome to find some movement by rocking from heels to toes, or twisting from right to left. Exploring. How are you? How are you really? What do you need? And what would feel good? We're not even standing up really in today's class. So if you don't have your hands on your blocks, then you'll grab hold of those now if you do have them. And if you don't, you can just play with bringing the fingertips down onto the floor, or maybe your hands are connected to your shins for the next few movements. So we're going to be creating today a nice circular flow in the way in which you move on your mat today. But again, we're taking our time, we're staying low to the ground. So from here, you'll take an inhale to bring yourself up into half lift. So maybe the hands are on the blocks or they come onto the shins. Gaze stays down, lengthen into the back of the neck. And then from here, you'll bring the weight into your left foot to step the right foot back behind you. And as soon as you get there, you bring the right knee down towards the floor. Uncurl the right toes. Hands are on blocks as you settle into your low lunge. Find any sort of movement in that left hip to make sure the shape feels really comfortable. And breathe. And listen closely here. So from where you are, you're going to pick up into the left hand. Maybe that block just stays in the left hand and you bring it on the inside of that left foot. And then once you get there, you'll curl the back toes under to lift the back knee, and you're walking towards the right side of your yoga mat. Your yoga mat, not your yogi mat. To bring yourself into a standing forward fold. So you'll notice how I have my blocks in my hands the entire time here. Let the head drop. And breathe. You know I need the reminder sometimes to breathe. And then from here, you're now walking towards the back end of your space. So if you're walking away from the device, no stress. We're not doing any poses that we haven't literally already done in the class today. So you're going to position your feet so that now your right set of toes are facing the back end of your space. And then right away, you bend into that right knee and you bring the left knee down towards the ground. And you bring yourself into your low lunge. So maybe it'll feel good to have the shoulders a little bit more in line with the hips. Take a few deep breaths right here. And then a little bit of a different transition here, but again, not a single shape that you haven't already done today. So you'll curl the back toes under to lift that back knee. You're stepping that back foot towards the short end of your yoga mat. So you're coming back into a forward fold. So that's one side, one cycle done. Really exploring the circular flow on your mat, really representative of the circular and cyclical phase and cycles of the moon. Creating a sacred space on your mat today. So we'll do that again. We're now moving in the same direction, but you're moving towards the right. So you'll take an inhale to find your half lift. And then bring the weight into that left foot. Step the right foot back behind you. And then as soon as that right foot lands, you bring the right knee down towards the ground, uncurl the right toes. You settle into your low lunge, also called dragon pose in yin yoga. So this is a hip opener on both sides, both hips. And then listen again to that transition. So you're bringing the left hand on the inside of that left foot. Curl the back toes under to lift the back knee. And then you're walking towards the right side of your space, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. I'm totally facing away from you and I'm like sticking my butt towards the camera, but here we are. We're all welcome here, exactly as we are, right? And then slowly, you're gonna walk with those blocks or with the hands over towards that right foot. So last low lunge here. So you position yourself, pivot the feet so that right set of toes facing the front end of your yoga mat. Left knee comes down, uncurl the left toes. Take a few deep breaths here in this low lunge. Then you're going to be stepping towards the front end of your space again. So curl the back toes under, use your blocks or the hands are connected to the floor. You lift the back knee and then you step the back foot towards the front end of your space. Let the head drop. Letting that full cycle settle in. And then you'll set the blocks aside to then step back into a downward facing dog. You're going to come into pigeon pose next. So a nice hip opener. You can transition into your pigeon pose from either downward dog or a tabletop position. So you'll lift the right foot away from the floor, just enough so that you can then bend into that right knee and bring the right knee towards the right wrist. Uncurl the left toes to then walk that left foot back. So if you're new to this shape, I'll leave a pose tutorial for this shape in the description box below. So I won't go too much in terms of other modifications and other ways that you can practice this shape, just so I can honor the time that you're here. So you'll find your favorite way to practice pigeon pose. And again, if you're new to it, then just kind of explore for yourself today and you can take a look at that pose tutorial after today's class. Bringing yourself into whatever pigeon pose feels really good, feels really right for you today. And then we'll be here for a few deep breaths. If you're in your pigeon pose, if you're in your figure four, if you've made your way into that shape as an alternative, stay on your back. If you're in your pigeon pose, slide the hands underneath of the shoulders to press yourself up. Curl the back toes under, and you step back either into a tabletop position or you step back into your downward facing dog. Take a moment here to find what will feel good before you come into the shape on the other side. And then when you're ready, you'll press into that right foot into the ground as you lift the left foot just enough so that you can then bend into that left leg. Bring the left knee towards the right wrist, left knee towards the left wrist rather, and then walk the right foot back. And then find your favorite go-to variation of the shape. Support your body as you need here. Blocks, bolsters, cushions, all of the above. Because this is your practice and this is your time. Trusting in the fact that it is okay for you to support yourself. It is okay for you to give yourself time to find what feels good for you. This is a time of reconnecting with your intuition, with that inner voice that just kind of knows. And it's okay if it's been a little while since you've connected to that voice. And it's okay if it feels like you don't even know what that voice even sounds like. This is a practice. So it's okay if this practice comes and goes. It feels really awesome sometimes and feels really foreign and uncomfortable in other times. The reality of today is that you're here. And that is perfect. You're already connecting with your intuition if you're here. Because you decided to make your way here. And that was one way or another you listening to your intuition, to what you need. And you honored that. To release out of the shape. If you're on your back, don't get up. That's where we're headed. If you're in your pigeon pose, you slide the hands underneath the shoulders, press yourself up, curl the back toes under. Last tabletop or last downward facing dog. And then you'll make your way onto your back. Connecting back down to the ground. Noticing any shifts in the physical body or in the sensations in the heart or the energy in the mind. We'll just find one last shape before coming into final relaxation, Shavasana, before we end the class. You'll bend into the legs, soles of the feet connect into the floor. Just kind of press into the feet so you can lift the hips up and lengthen into the low back. And then you'll bring the knees in towards the body and towards the chest. And we'll come into happy baby pose. So either you simply widen the knees to find a stretch in the inner thighs, or you allow the arms to come on the inside of the knees to then grab hold of the outer edges of your feet, with the soles of the feet shining towards the sky. Using the clasp of the hands to pull the knees in towards the armpits. You can stay still if that is what you need today, if that's what feels good when it comes to your new moon practice. Or maybe movement would feel good in the form of rocking from side to side. If you're finding that movement, you'll come back into stillness and releasing that shape to come into your comfortable shape for final relaxation. So it might feel good for you to grab a hold of that bolster if you have it, to position that bolster underneath of your knees. Widen the arms, the feet, the palms open towards the sky. Cover yourself with a blanket if that would feel really good. Invite some softness to sweep across the face. And enjoy just a few moments of stillness. Softly and slowly bring the awareness back in. Bringing some movement into the fingers and the toes. Finding a big body stretch. And then the knees come in towards the chest. Bringing yourself onto the right side of your body to then press yourself up into seated. Once you bring yourself upright, bringing the hands into heart center, pressing the palms together, thumbs are pressing in towards the heart. Maybe the eyes are closed or the eyes are open. Just allow yourself to feel and be here in this space where you have begun to connect with yourself. In this space where you have honored the energy that you find yourself in these days. Maybe energies that resonate with the new moon, or maybe not. And you sense into also this space where you gave yourself some time to ask yourself, how am I feeling, really? What do I need? What would feel good? Maybe you have some intentions that are beginning to brew, and that's great. And I really hope that you can watch those intentions blossom. Or maybe you don't, and maybe you just want to offer yourself a gentle smile for the time that you've set aside for yourself today. We'll end the practice with one big breath together, you and I. Inhale. Of the mouth, let it go. And softly opening up into the eyes. I honor you for committing to your practice and to your body today. And I thank you so very much for sharing that practice with me. Thank you so much for joining me during today's new moon practice. If you appreciated today's practice, then I would absolutely love to hear from you. You can let me know in the comments below, like the video, and subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. And I will also mention that if you are watching this video at a time where it's just been launched, it just came out, that it's live, then I will mention that I do have a brand new autumn yoga schedule that has just been announced. And all of those live stream yoga classes start the first week of October. So if you happen to be in the Northern Hemisphere and you're looking for some autumn yoga vibes, then I'd be so honored to see you there. The new series is called Ease, because that's what we're looking to cultivate during this season. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and until next time.